In this video, we're going to show you the step-by-step process of how we built the backgrounds for two terrariums. This one, which belongs to Arwen, our female Chahua gecko, and the other belongs to Aragorn, our male Chahua gecko. One day we hope to unite these geckos and hope that they accept each other and that we also may get some gecko babies from them one day. Now it is daytime, so I won't be waking Arwen up and showing her to you, but you will see her in the end of the video. Enjoy!
Welcome to Reptiles with Lopez. Building the backgrounds starts by measuring and cutting the foam boards for the back and side walls of each terrarium. I am using a hot wire cutter as I am able to work outside where the fumes produced by the cutter are less harmful. Using a hot wire cutter is less messy than using knives or other tools, as those often result in tiny pieces of the foam everywhere. However, this method takes much more time. The fumes produced by cutting the foam this way are toxic, so make sure to use a mask if you are cutting in a closed space. For Aragorn's terrarium, we are using this fake piece of wood which we had lying around. I marked the location of the piece on the back wall foam board. Using a knife, I scraped the foam to make a rough surface for the spray foam later to adhere to. And then I added aquarium-safe silicone on all the edges of the piece to make it stick to the foam better. Next, I added spray foam inside the area marked on the background foam board. Then the piece is placed on top of the spray foam and we put a weight on top to keep it in place during the curing process. Next, I made ledges for the food and water bowls using smaller pieces of the foam board. I marked the bowl spots and cut out the corresponding piece with the hot wire cutter. Then it was time to add the ledge to the side wall. We also cut out small pieces of the foam board and added them randomly on the walls to make the background look more natural and to have more depth. Before applying the spray foam, we always misted the foam boards with water. This helps the spray foam cure better, making it denser and harder so it is easier to carve once it cures, and it makes the foam structurally stronger. It is important to carve out the shiny surface of the spray foam after setting, so that the waterproofing or grout is able to adhere to the foam later. Make sure you let the spray foam cure fully before cutting it. The foam surface is the first to harden, so if you do not give it enough time to set, or you have too thick layer of the foam itself, the inside of the foam might still be wet and sticky, making it impossible to carve. We are using aquarium-safe silicone to attach the background pieces to the glass. Unlike the spray foam, silicone needs a completely dry environment to cure correctly, so make sure there is absolutely no excess humidity on the glass or on the foam. Humidity speeds up the chemical reaction in the silicone and causes it to cure too quickly and lose the connection and bond to the surface. Also make sure to press the foam funnels firmly on the glass for proper adhesion. Next was the application of spray foam in all the corners to connect the walls and to add structural support. At this point, we also sprayed in the plant pots, securing them in place with duct tape during the curing process. I decided to add one more ledge for a potential extra food or water bowl, and I secured it to the wall with silicone and then started carving out the spray foam again. Sometimes it is easier to use your fingers to rip out the foam than to cut it with a knife. However, aesthetically it looks very different so choosing the method depends on your goals. Next up is Arwen's terrarium. We will do the same steps in this one too. I have already cut out the foam panels like before with the hot wire cutter and made the feeding ledges and attached them on the panels themselves. The panels are again attached to the glass with aquarium grade silicone. We decided to add a horizontal branch to the gecko terrariums so that the animals can bask and sleep on it if they want to. At the moment of editing these videos, it has been some time since the actual build, and I can say that the inhabitants are quite happy with this decision. In this terrarium, we decided to use pieces of cork bark in the background. As it is an easy surface for the gecko to climb on, it looks nice, and it also speeds up the build process as there is no need to do extra steps on the bark itself later on. Next, I misted the area with water and attached the bark hide to the background with spray foam. And then I applied these same steps to the plant pots, securing them in place with the foam. After the foam cured, I carved it out, and then it was time for the next step in the build, waterproofing the background. I am using a latex-based and water-soluble waterproofing agent, which releases little volatile organic compounds during the curing process and next to none after it is cured. Choosing a similar product for your builds is essential for the safety of our animals. The products differ in different countries. Next, I poke some holes in the flower pots to allow excess water to drain away. Then we cut pieces of landscape fabric and firmly attach them to the background with silicone. We are using a natural fabric made out of hemp fibers. We chose this biodegradable fabric as it is untreated and chemical-free and safe for reptiles. This fabric gives the background a more finished look, and also it serves as a good climbing surface and provides different textures for the animal to move on. For the remaining background area, we used a mixture of coconut fiber and orchid bark to mimic the natural texture of the forest floor. To make this durable, it requires a generous amount of silicone and some elbow grease. You need to thoroughly knead the substrate into the wet silicone to ensure a permanent bond. And so, the custom backgrounds are officially finished and the terrariums are ready for the final touches. Now, let's make them into bioactive and self-sustaining habitats. Let's start with the foundation, the drainage layer, using leca balls. First, we need to rinse all the clay dust off. As you can see, the quality control team, our dogs, are nearby to supervise every single step. The drainage layer is critical because it holds excess water and keeps the main substrate layer from becoming waterlogged, and as such, it prevents root rot from affecting our plants. On top of the leca balls, we add a layer of activated charcoal. This serves as a natural filter. It helps to purify the water that collects in the drainage layer and absorbs odors and potential toxins that might build up, keeping the ecosystem clean and fresh. To separate the drainage layer from the rest of the habitat, we're laying down a filter fabric. This material is essential because it allows water to pass through and into the leca, but completely prevents soil and fine particles from falling into the drainage layer, which would otherwise clog it and ruin the system over time. Then it's time to mix the substrate. Before laying it down, we need to combine all the components. Our base is topsoil, and we're following a specific ratio to ensure the substrate holds moisture, drains well, and is airy for the plant roots. The mix consists of 2 parts topsoil, 1 part sphagnum moss, 1 part cocoa fiber, and 1 part orchid bark. This custom blend is exactly what our plants and cleanup crew will thrive in. Give all these components a really good mix to ensure an even, healthy medium across the entire enclosure. And so, the terrariums are ready for the plants. Before we can put the plants in the substrate, it is absolutely vital to thoroughly rinse the roots. We do this to wash away any residual commercial soil, pesticides, or fertilizers that could harm our animal or our delicate bioactive ecosystem. Once they're clean, they're safe to plant. As a final touch for climbing and visual appeal, we added fake vines to the enclosures. To ensure these were completely secure, I used metal wire to firmly pin the vines into the background foam. Then, for a strong and durable attachment that looks natural, I covered the wire with a patch of the hemp fabric and sealed it all with silicone. This gives us a permanent, solid fixture that the animals can climb safely. Our last step was to maximize hiding spaces at the top of the enclosures. Since natural plants can struggle to thrive in these high corners, I decided to add safe and durable fake plants here instead. This gives our geckos essential cover and privacy right where they need it most. But before the geckos can move in their enclosures, the final and crucial step for our ecosystem is the cleanup crew. We introduced springtails and dairy cow isopods to cycle nutrients and keep the habitat clean. With the structure complete, the plants thriving, and the bioactive system fully established, the terrariums are now officially ready for the residents to move in.